When we talk about the NBA, we usually think about amazing moments, big shots, crazy dunks, and champions holding trophies. But sometimes basketball gives us moments that are the complete opposite. Moments that break hearts. These are not just tough games or bad plays. These are real disasters. Sudden injuries, shocking news, and tragedies that change players' lives in the NBA forever. Today we look back at 5 of the darkest moments in NBA history that left fans and players in tears. 1. Derrick Rose's ACL injury, 2012 playoffs. The year was 2012, and Derrick Rose was the brightest star in the NBA sky. At just 23 years old, he was already the youngest MVP in league history. Explosive, fearless, and beloved in Chicago, he was the hometown hero destined to bring the Bulls back to the top. Game 1 of the playoffs against the Philadelphia 76ers was supposed to be the beginning of a long postseason run. But with just minutes left in the game, with the Bulls comfortably ahead, Rose made a move he had done thousands of times before, a powerful drive into the paint, and then disaster. He planted his foot, twisted, and collapsed. The arena went silent. Rose clutched his knee, grimacing in pain. Seconds later, the diagnosis came, a torn ACL. The entire course of his career shifted in that one moment. Chicago's championship dreams vanished. Though Rose would return, the explosiveness that made him so unique was never fully the same. His story became one of perseverance and heartbreak, and the NBA was left with one of the biggest what-ifs in league history. 2. Paul George's gruesome leg injury, 2014 Team USA scrimmage. It was supposed to be a friendly Team USA scrimmage, a celebration of basketball, unity, and national pride. Paul George, the Indiana Pacers' rising superstar, was at the peak of his powers, an elite two-way player ready to lead his team to glory. Then came a play that still haunts fans. George chased down a layup attempt and soared to block it. But when he landed, his legs snapped horrifically against the stanchion. The crowd gasped. Players turned away in shock. Teammates buried their heads in their jerseys, unable to watch. George's lower leg was broken in one of the most graphic and devastating injuries the NBA world has ever seen. In an instant, a scrimmage turned into a nightmare. It would take years of recovery, grueling rehab, and unshakable determination for George to return. Remarkably, he did, becoming an all-star again and proving his resilience. But that night in 2014, the basketball world was frozen in horror. 3. Reggie Lewis collapsing and passing away, 1993. Reggie Lewis was supposed to be the future of the Boston Celtics. After the Larry Bird era, Lewis had emerged as the new face of the franchise. He was an all-star, a gifted scorer, and a beloved teammate. But tragedy struck in a way no one saw coming. During a 1993 playoff game against the Charlotte Hornets, Lewis suddenly collapsed on the court. Fans watched in shock as medical staff rushed to his aid. Though he returned briefly in that game, the incident raised serious concerns. Doctors soon discovered heart problems, and his career was put in jeopardy. But the worst was still to come. Just months later, while practicing in the offseason, Lewis collapsed again. This time he never got back up. At only 27 years old, he was gone. The NBA and Boston Celtics family were shattered. A franchise cornerstone, a man with so much left to give, taken too soon. It was one of the darkest reminders that even the strongest athletes are vulnerable for. Len Bias tragedy, 1986 draft night. The story of Len Bias is perhaps the most haunting what could have been in NBA history. Drafted second overall by the Boston Celtics in 1986, Bias was seen as the next great superstar. He was tall, explosive, and destined to extend the Celtics dynasty into the next decade. But just 2 days after being drafted, Bias died of a cocaine overdose. The news sent shockwaves through the sports world. The NBA had lost a future legend before he ever played a single professional game. For the Celtics, it was devastating, a franchise-changing loss. For the league, it was a wake-up call about the dangers of drugs. And for fans, it was a tragedy that still echoes decades later. Len Bias's name remains synonymous with unrealized potential, a life and career cut short before it could even begin. 5. Magic Johnson's HIV announcement, 1991. November 7, 1991. a day when time seemed to stop. Magic Johnson, the five-time champion, the face of the Showtime Lakers, one of the most beloved figures in sports, stepped to a podium and announced the unthinkable. He had contracted HIV and would retire immediately. In the early 90s, HIV was seen as a death sentence. Fear and stigma surrounded it. Fans, players, and the world were stunned. How could this larger-than-life figure, who always seemed untouchable, suddenly be so vulnerable? The announcement sent shockwaves far beyond basketball. Teammates cried, fans mourned. The NBA world felt broken. And yet, Magic's story didn't end in tragedy. His courage to speak openly helped reshape the world's understanding of HIV, turning fear into education and breaking down stigma. But in that moment, the moment he said he was stepping away, it was pure devastation. The NBA lost one of its greatest players, and the sports world confronted a harsh, painful reality. When greatness meets tragedy, basketball is often about triumph, glory, and the beauty of the game. But sometimes it's also about heartbreak. These disasters, Derrick Rose's injury, Paul George's crash, Reggie Lewis's passing, Len Bias's tragedy, and Magic Johnson's shocking announcement, remind us of the fragility of life and the unpredictability of sport. In each case, the NBA world held its breath. Fans cried, teams struggled to move on, and yet out of tragedy often comes resilience. From Rose's determination to George's comeback to Magic's advocacy, these moments shape not just careers, but lives. The NBA will always be about highlight reels, championships, and legends. But just as important are these dark chapters, the reminders that behind the superhuman performances are human beings, vulnerable, flawed, and mortal. And that is why these disasters will never be forgotten.